Hey guys, welcome back. So now with getting into part 3 of Peter David's Maestro, which for the most part gives us this journey of how the Hulk became Maestro. And I gotta say, it's really here where most of this transformation through the journey, it takes the steepest turn. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so jumping right back in, like not long after the Hulk had arrived at Dystopia, and with doing so he was later greeted by the Minister, who had shortly after informed the Hulk that his presence was requested by Hercules. And let me tell you something about Hercules, man, like the way he acts here, which is expected within the series, and it's expected for Hercules, but for some reason when I first read this, it just made me think of that one friend that I know a lot of people have. And I say that because when the Hulk arrives and Hercules sees him, he's like, man, I missed you. And the Hulk then explains how he was quote unquote kept on ice by MODOK, which is where he's been all this time. But after that, where Hercules tells the Hulk that he missed him, he was his favorite, and Hulk was like, favorite what? And Hercules is like sparring partner, and he just punches the Hulk clearly out the building, like from the Utopia section all the way to the Dystopia. And it made me think, like, you ever know that friend, and I'm talking about people mid-20s, above 30 even, but you have that friend who you haven't seen in a while, and when you do see them, they want to play fight. Like, really, dude? I'm a grown-ass, like, come on, man. And it's crazy because Hercules pretty much comes with that same energy, but in this case, the punch is real. And like the Hulk literally has to pop his jaw back in place. And with that, Hercules is criticizing the Hulk, telling him that he believes that he's gotten soft, which of course is a mistake within itself because you just don't call any Hulk soft. But with them going back and forth, Hercules then punches a hole in the ground, which then causes the Hulk to fall in. And when he does, he runs into Piz in the court and like, okay, wait a minute. So now, for the longest time, I've been pronouncing this guy's name Piz, you know, P-I-Z-F-I-Z. And I've always wondered, like, am I saying it right? But either way, the Cord we have seen, like, in the previous issues, or at least she had been mentioned by Rick's daughter, Janice. But much like the Cord and Janice, like, Piz's history, like, he was the one who went back in time and got the younger Hulk to face off with Maestro. Like, at the time, I think it was him and Janice. But later on, he was then arrested by the dystopian police and then killed in captivity by Maestro. So it's pretty crazy seeing him here with the Cord, who are making their way to the Hulk to tell him that Rick Jones wants to see him. Which for the Hulk, this is like the best thing he's heard since he really woke up, like, for real, for real. So with hearing that, he then leaves with the Cord so that he can finally reunite with his longtime friend. Which then, of course, leaves Hercules hanging and likely assuming that the Hulk had wimped out. But with the Hulk finally seeing Rick after all this time, they begin to catch up, and Hulk also meets Rick's granddaughter Janice. But also while they're having this conversation, Rick mentions that he's come to find out that the Hulk has finally met Hercules, who now goes by Maestro. And initially, like, the Hulk has his assumptions like, what if Hercules really isn't himself? Which from the Hulk's perspective, it's a plausible theory. Like perhaps he's a Skrull or being mind controlled. Like from his perspective, those explanations will make more sense. But then Rick tells them like, no, that's definitely him. Just that at this point, times have changed and so is he. And all Hercules really cares about now is women and partying, without any real consideration for the ordinary people who are just trying to survive after all that's happened. And really it's here where you see everything that the Hulk had been thinking up to this point, like line up with Maestro's ideals. And I mean at least the latter part, like the women and the party, and I'm sure he'll get there. And I mean like we know he gets there. But then it's here where he flips because he's like ordinary people, like the heroes have been protecting ordinary people from these so-called world-ending villains for so long. And when it came down to it, who ended the world? Who? The ordinary people. And the Hulk tells Rick, like if anything, these people need to be ruled with an iron hand, placed into an army, and then unity can be forged around the world. And Rick picks it up right away, like who's supposed to do this? You? And really at this point, the Hulk, like he can't even imagine somebody worse. And it's really like at this time where you can kind of see the switch go off in him, like why not? And it's interesting that Rick also tells him like, man, you sound like Dr. Doom. And Hulk is just kind of like, well, maybe Doom was on to something. But then after that, the Hulk tells him that he needs a lab, to where I'm surprised that he didn't get another Doom remark after that. But instead, Rick then tells the Cord to take him to Alcamax, or at least what's left of it at this point, and with doing that, perhaps the Hulk can find what he needs there. But I'd also imagine that Rick was hoping that not necessarily the Hulk would find what he needs and become Doom Hulk, but instead probably hoping that he would find something that would cool him off or deter him from this aggressive direction. And so with the Cord taking the Hulk to Alcamax, it kind of feels like this moment where Hulk is like, I'm planning to build something, care to join me? But then he turns around and the Cord is gone. And it's kind of funny to me because like, I don't blame her. Like, you ain't finna go Doc Green around me. Or Doc Green Doom for that matter. But after this, when he then leaps up and into the building, he's searching around in here for days, trying to find something that'll help him build this vision that he wants to put together. And while searching around, he sees a sign that points to the left and it says lab rats, which initially has him thinking of like cyber rats, but I also can't help but think like what he would have found if he went to the right on the side that said genetics. Because interesting enough, like the history with Alcamax, and really like overall excluding some of the time traveling stuff, but with it starting from like Liz Allen's chemical company merging with Oscorp, like these are the people who made Honey Badger, like there are a lot of things that the Hulk could find here. And so when he walks in and he sees a room full of these bodies and these tubes, who are likely the lab rats from the label outside, it's here where he's kind of like, okay, I know what I'm gonna be doing for the next few months. But then after this, we jump back to Hercules, who's then approached by the minister, and I keep calling him Hercules, like it just don't feel right calling him Maestro. And aside from that, I kind of got a feeling he ain't gonna be called Maestro for long, so there's that. But when the minister tells him like with a real nonchalant tone, like, well, I guess you didn't want to see the Hulk anyway. But when he tells him that, he just drops the girl and makes his way out to go see the Hulk. But like the look on Hercules' face, man, like it's just like the dude who's walking with his girl and he turns around looking at another girl. Like I'm sure you guys have seen the meme that I'm talking about. And it'll probably be on my Discord at some point after this video goes up, so link below. But after this, when Hercules makes his way down to like your downtown Dystopia, the Hulk is already there and he's giving a speech. And it's like when the Hulk is giving this speech, like for me, I try to put my mind inside of the people like hearing this for the first time. Because it's like the way the speech starts out and the Hulk mentions ordinary, which is the label that the people have been given. And he lets them know it's a label given by people who think they're better. But it's the ordinary people who do great things. Ordinary people have created vaccines, put a man on the moon. Like ordinary people saw not only like the world for what it was, but they also saw through that and saw what could be. And it's a great beginning of a speech. But then this is where he loses them. Because then when he tells them that the ordinary people only became extraordinary because their leaders tell them where to go and what to do. And the Hulk lets him know, like, I am that leader that's gonna tell you exactly what that is. And after this, with showing them what usually is considered like a show of good faith, like he gives them a glimpse of what he can provide for them as a people. And when he points and turns, kind of like, behold, there is like a bunch of huge mechanical Wolverine Ultron faced dogs, of which he calls the Dogs of War. And I'm pretty sure prior to this point, Dogs of War was like a Roxxon thing, but I don't see Dario Agger nowhere around, so Hulk's pretty much taking that. But then also the Hulk's vision is for the dogs to do the fighting, and it's only the people's job to clean up after them, and likely handle maintenance as well. But also with showing them this, the Hulk is like, we're going beyond the city, like we're gonna take the whole country and build it up better than it's ever been seen before. And after saying that, he's like, who's with me? And man, you can hear crickets. Because it's quiet for a while and then somebody in the crowd is like, man, flark that. Like these people's like, you got me flarked up, bro. Like the flark is he thinking? Flark wrong with you. But it's kind of cool that like where the Hulk is standing, there's a sign that says Maestro is watching. And just above the sign, we see Hercules on his way. Still ain't calling him Maestro. But then it's here where the Hulk is like, you know what? Flark everything I just said. And he sends the Dogs of War down to tear up the people. And really like it just ends there. But even with Hercules coming, like I don't know if he's gonna help these people. And I mean, he probably wants to fight the Dogs of War like just as a challenge, but much like the Hulk, he doesn't care about ordinary people. And at most, he wants the challenge of defeating the Dogs of War just to have a story to tell, but then also wanting to fight the Hulk even the more for now wanting to step up and take his spot. And this is kind of the time in the video where I'll be like, okay, we'll see where it goes, but we know where it goes. And I gotta say, like, Peter David is doing a stupendous job of telling the story that he's already given us the ending to, but even still with doing so, it's like you feel like I gotta see what happens next. But so now real quick before we go, I want to give a special shout out to all the Patreons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below to where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again in the next one. Alright, later.